Yo YouTube, it's Tofuhero Video, and today I'm going to show you guys a special edition of my collection. So I really like fighting games, I really like anime, and I really like superheroes. So the theme of this video will be anime fighting games with superheroes. Anyhow, the first thing I'll show you guys is, I guess, my Capcom games, because we all know that Capcom makes some of the best fighting games in history. I guess the first thing that I'll show you guys is it's not even a fighting game, it is a movie based on the fighting game Street Fighter 2, the movie. So I played Street Fighter a long time ago when I was younger, but I haven't actually bought all those games on like the new systems. Anyhow, this this was the very first animated movie from Street Fighter, and it was amazing. I recently bought this from Australia because there's no U.S. version. Although, if you bought the Street Fighter Anniversary collection with like all the games and stuff, this movie is actually in there with like the American cartoon series, which had a lot of special moves. Yeah. Anyhow, I decided not to buy it because it was just a waste of money, as I already had the other games. Anyhow, now I don't have that many Street Fighter games, so I'm gonna go into the some of the games that Capcom made related to superheroes. So yes, the first thing that they made was X-Men: Children of the Atom. Now keep in mind that all these games were ported from the arcades onto the PS1. So in terms of quality, in terms of frame rate, in terms of the way that it looks, it was never as good. But it's still good fun. And as a collector, I think these were some of the hardest games to track down because they were either too expensive or the game had like no case. Anyhow, that was the first one. Now the next one is Marvel superheroes. So this includes some of the Avengers, X-Men, and Spider-Man. And of course, we have our first crossover game, X-Men versus Street Fighter. The next crossover game, Marvel superheroes versus Street Fighter. So as you can already tell, the Marvel vs. Capcom games, these were basically all the games that came before it. Then we actually have the first Marvel vs. Capcom, Clash of the Superheroes. And then everybody's favorite, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, with a huge character roster. And finally, Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Now I know that there's the Ultimate version that has I guess 12 new characters or whatever. I actually ordered it, so it's on its way. I decided just to buy it because you know what? Regardless of whether or not you support what Capcom's doing, they would have done something similar. Like what if they called it Marvel vs. Capcom 4 and they just added 12 new characters? Anyhow, I'm not gonna get into a debate about that, but I like it, so I bought it. Um, and really, what set off the fighting game craze, especially in like the 2010, 2012, it was because of this game, Super Street Fighter 4. This game basically brought fighting games back out into, I guess, the public. And of course, the other crossover that I'd like to talk about is Tatsunoko versus Capcom. This is the Japanese superheroes versus Capcom characters released on the Wii. A very interesting combination because I guess on the Wii there's no, this was not really expected. Like people didn't think that this would even come to America because nobody really knows the Tatsunoko heroes. And of course the most recent crossover, Street Fighter Cross Tekken. I have no opinion about this. They just had a new patch on it. I thought it was okay, and I like the idea where you can have like four people on the screen at once. That was pretty cool, and it has Cole, Mega Man, and Pac Man. Although Mega Man has definitely seen better days. Moving on, I'll also talk about Capcom's rival, SNK. Now they made a ton of different fighting games. This includes The Art of Fighting, Fatal Fury, and The King of Fighters, which you've probably heard of. Anyhow, let me just go through the game. So this is the Art of Fighting Anthology, and as you can see, its main character's name is Ryo, and he wears a karate suit, and he's orange, and I'm not even gonna compare them. Then we have Fatal Fury, Fatal Fury Battle Archives 1, and Fatal Fury Battle Archives 2. Fatal Fury is about a character named Terry Bogard. He's an American guy with his brother, and they live in Southtown. Basically, their dad got killed, and they're basically trying to take revenge. And it's your standard. It's a fighting game where you gotta fight everybody. Say, similar to how the Street Fighter 2 got a movie, Fatal Fury also got some movies as well, and they were lucky enough to get 3 of them. So we have this is Fatal Fury Double Impact. This includes the first 2 movies, Legend of the Hungry Wolf and The New Battle. And then, of course, they have their 3rd movie, Fatal Fury, the motion picture OVA. Yeah. So just an interesting tip from this. So a lot of the English voice actors, some of them started off with this movie. So if you guys know Gundam Wing, Hiro Yui, the voice actor's name is Mark Hildreth. He was Terry Bogard. There's probably some other ones. I think Veronica Taylor, who did Ash for Pokemon, was Mai. And then also with Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, and some of the other SNK arcade titles, they decided to do some compilations. So they made the King of Fighters series. So this is the King of Fighters, the Orochi Collection. This includes all the games from 1994 to 1998, 5 games, the first 5. And this is, I guess this is my first King of Fighters game, King of Fighters 99. I played this a lot, actually. I got fairly good at it, and it's still one of my favorites. Next we have the King of Fighters 2000 and 2001. And then King of Fighters 2002, 2003. King of Fighters 11. King of Fighters 12. And the most recent one, King of Fighters 13. So if you guys watch EVO, which is basically the Super Bowl of all fighting games, you'll see that this guy made an appearance, and there were some epic battles. There was so much heat on them. Holy Angelina Jolie. All right. And then there are also 2 spin-off games. King of Fighters Maximum Impact. This is Maximum Impact 2, but they called it 2006. And then finally, I just have a couple more. Now, I talked about Capcom, I talked about SNK, and how they were big rivals in terms of fighting games. I think there's 2 more games that they made. Actually, there's 3, but I only have 2 of them. It was the SNK versus Capcom series. Because people were thinking, I think there's some magazine saying, oh, there's a new Street Fighter game. Oh, there's a new King of Fighter games. They're going to fight. And from that one magazine article, I think some people misinterpreted it where they're like, holy crap, they're going to have a crossover game. I think Capcom and SNK, soon realizing that people were thinking that, they actually decided to make these games. So you'll also see that Capcom versus SNK, two of the fighting game rivals coming together in one game. It was one of those, wow, I did not realize that would be happening. So, and then there's also one more called SNK versus Capcom Chaos. I actually don't have it, but it's basically SNK's version of the game. And finally, the final anime-related game is Blaze Blue Continuum Shift. This is actually one of those games that were made by the people that made Guilty Gear, and it's just really good. And I'm almost out of time, so Tofuhero signing out.